Hi, it's your girl Lola, and welcome to the Love Frequency. This episode is entitled When Healing Looks Pretty, the Aesthetics of Spirituality. I want to say that it's easy to get swept up in curating visuals of spirituality. Crystal singing bowls, crystals bathed in light, perfect journal entries, soft, guided voice meditations, sacred spaces that look like an anthropology altar. But what happens when the look of healing becomes more important than the actual work does? And in this episode today, we're going to talk about spiritual performance and the pressure to appear enlightened, soft, aligned, always glowing. Whether you're a teacher, a space holder, or simply trying to keep up with the vibe, the temptation to look good instead of healing is real. And I wanted to dive into that just a little bit. Yes, I'm reading from some notes. Don't judge. We're in a space of non-judgment. But I wanted to dive into that a little bit because I feel like for me, I am always conscious of the difference between sacred self-expression and performance. And I'm always conscious of, is this glamour magic or not? Is this me wanting it to make it look good? Or is it the real truth of me actually showing the spiritual process, showing the breakdown, the tear down, and the build back up? And I feel like that's a very important thing to talk about. I'm sure that I'm going to revisit this. I'd like to have some guests on to discuss this. So if you are interested in this podcast and it tickles your fancy and you're like, I have something to say to that, please make sure to email me at thelovefrequency@gmail.com. That's THELUV frequency at gmail.com. So I also want to take a look at how social media can reward the image of awakening over the actual embodiment and the actual process of actually looking at how we really champion how beautiful it could look. But then if there's an ugly side to healing, there's an ugly side to this spiritual awakening that can be very, very, very hard. It can be life-changing. It could be emotional. It could put you into the hospital. It can make you have mental breakdowns. So there's another side to this awakening, to being opened up to the higher dimension and higher realm that we just don't see in authenticity as much as I would like to see it. I spent the last 2 years going through a separation, and during that separation I had a lot of dark nights of the soul, and I did not share those things as much as I should have because I felt compelled to let people know that I was growing spiritually without having those ugly cries at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I feel like that's so important for us to really get to a place where we actually can, champion, the process, that we can champion the hard part of it. Spirituality is not a photo shoot. It's a process. It's sacred, but it's not always soft. And sometimes you ugly cry on the floor at 2 a.m. and there's no altar in sight. There's no crystals in sight. So we have to really try to give ourselves some grace when it comes to the process of really healing, and how healing can be beautiful, but it can also look like shit. To me, there is this subtle way that we can hide behind the aesthetics to avoid like diving deeper into the shadow work. And I think I wanted to hide into the aesthetics, and that was what pushed me off of being in social media and not staying consistent to doing readings, to staying consistent to sharing my surviving separation series on TikTok, because it was getting hard to share. It was hard. The growth always outweighs the process, right? What you get from the healing process, it's like hindsight is always 2020. And I feel like for me, as I was struggling through this grief, that I couldn't share it unless I could make it look beautiful, because there were sometimes that it was disgusting, that I literally was laying on the floor crying, and tears and boogies and trying to figure out ways to self-soothe, to play crystal singing bowls, to scream at the top, to doing screaming therapy and doing the meltdown. I came up with this therapy called the meltdown therapy, where you basically melt down. It's a whole thing. I have to do a whole podcast on that, but just doing these things to make sure that I was allowing myself to experience the mess of actually going through the healing, and actually saying, okay, so I'm going through this, and there's, and I said this to my girlfriend. Shout out to Haji, my homegirl. I want to say about a year ago, we were talking, and I was like, I really don't want. First off, I felt like the grief that I was experiencing wasn't beautiful, and I felt like people could catch it. It was like, contagious, so to speak. That my sadness was contagious, and I didn't want people to be in a space where they were basically receiving the sadness, and it was getting on them. And I said, and I don't know what to do. Like, this experience is so heavy that I know that I said maybe I could just go on to Instagram and go live and just cry, because that's how I felt. And I still can feel the feeling of that. I mean, and there's just so much, there's such an importance to seeing, sorry, I'm getting emotional. There's such an importance to seeing that part of the healing journey, and to see that part of the pain, the sadness, seeing that part of it. There's just so much healing, and I couldn't break myself down into wanting the aesthetics of healing to look beautiful, because I was watching a lot of close friends and people that I know that were on the journey to healing, and they were making it look really beautiful. Their faces were fully beat. You know what I'm saying? They was wearing the white flowing gowns, and they was making it look effortless, and I was, shitting myself, throwing up, crying in my car, hyperventilating, having to pull over. And it was like the grief was just so hard. And part of me, now that I look back on it, is like, I really wish I had had the guts to show that. But I just didn't have the guts to really show. And even now I struggle with showing how hard spiritual growth is for me, because everything is happening for us and not to us. Radical forgiveness. Okay. And everything is happening to awaken us so that we can remember who we were prior to incarnating on this plane. And it's interesting, because I mean, I would love to challenge someone of how many times that they've cleaned up what their life looks like by sharing something on social media. And I want to champion the awkward growth stage that I went through, and how I bared witness to me falling apart. And I personally didn't share it, and there is some parts that I did share, and there is some videos that I do have, and I just couldn't share them. But I didn't share anything. I went to whole different extreme. This is a whole different sense of overachieving. Instead of sharing the healing part, I shared nothing at all. And I would get to a place where I would share my surviving separation things as I was feeling better, and I felt like I could show up. I would share my surviving separation things on TikTok in my surviving separations series, where just like the ideas of being alone and how to process that. Because for me, my spiritual awakening, part of my spiritual process and spiritual awakening, is my separation from my husband, is the separation of feeling as though I had found a soulmate, and then processing out of that relationship, that what I deemed a soulmate relationship, and then reframing and transmuting and then flipping to how do I, you know, relationship with self. So I feel like that is the biggest spiritual come up that I could have actually had is, and I'm shocked even in this podcast right now that I'm saying this, that if I hadn't gone through that, the awarenesses that I have had during that time, I don't know where I would be at right now. I'm sure that there is a divine plan. I'm definitely sure that there was a divine plan. And this divine plan said you have to go through this experience so that you can move higher. And you can't make it beautiful. You can't have an aesthetic experience. I feel like sometimes that spirit has it out for me. I can't make shit look pretty. I can't beat my face. I can't have flowing dresses on. I can't have a beautiful clean space, with cream and white furniture that's just an expansive space so that it just looks like I'm effortlessly playing my singing bowls while the world is exploding around me. I don't get that. I get the nitty gritty. I get the drunk on a train platform in New York at 2 o'clock in the morning where I'm about to throw myself on the train and homeless people are telling me to go the fuck home. That's what I get. Because that has happened to me in my past, in my spiritual practice. That's probably one of the beginning of my spiritual stuff is that happened to me. So I feel like that there's this, it's interesting that there is this spiritual performance that has been going on. And I am really tired. And I don't want to be a part of it. I just want to share what I've experienced and share what I know and share the modalities that have been working for me and then maybe talk about the ones that don't work and then move from there. But I mean, ultimately what I want to get to is real healing. I don't want to make it a beautiful show. I mean, I don't want to ultimately I've been on this grind for healing since 2013 when I had a near-death experience. And I've never wanted to make it beautiful because it never was beautiful. It's always been this heart. I don't want to even put heart into it. I need another word because heart makes it feel like this process that has led me to here. And without going through the process, I wouldn't be here being able to share this message. So it's like, there is no, I'm not looking to, do I want the beautiful aesthetic anthropology altar? Yeah. Do I want it to look like that I am this beautiful white bruja that, can wield magic and can yield to the art of the manifestation that's coming to me. I can do all that. And I want it to look beautiful. And this is why I'm like, even every time I do a podcast, I have some weird issue with the video or the background sounds or whatever. And I'm just going to keep moving through it because it cannot always be beautiful. Spiritual growth is not beautiful. It's not a beautiful aesthetic. It doesn't always look effortless. It's not that way. It might be that way for 1% of the people who they have a spiritual awakening. Even Mother Teresa didn't have a beautiful aesthetic spiritual awakening. She like name one person in history that had a beautiful aesthetic spiritual awakening. Please, someone, I'll wait. Comment below wherever you find this at, just comment below. Because I feel like that's part of the thing is that we are in this belief system that healing is supposed to look so pretty and so easy and so comfortable and like, I'll heal. And then, but you know what people forget? They forget to tell you about shadow work. Because that shadow is coming. And you have to integrate that. You cannot throw it away. What you are doing is you are mending every piece of yourself that has been broken off or taken off by someone else, trauma. You threw it away because you didn't like that part of yourself. That shit is coming back, and it is coming back with a vengeance, and it wants to be integrated. And you have to, and I'm going to start to name it. You have to integrate your hoe, your hustler, your prostitute, your conniver, your thief, the person who stole something, the person who banged somebody's whatever. You, if you're a murderer, you have to integrate all that when you're going through the healing process. How can I make it look like I'm in Arizona on a boulder meditating to a starry night with a fire raging and I'm in tribal gear? What? What? No, because that's really not what doesn't look like for the rest of us muggles, for the rest of the mundane people. What it looks like is me laying in the bathroom floor, crying and shitting myself because the pain is so deep that it has taken me to a place where I no longer want to exist, and then I have to figure out how to get up and go to work the next day and keep food down and then still smile at people and still find joy in the sunrise and the sunset. That is the true healing. And when healing looks pretty, I'm very suspecty about it, just like baby hair. I'm very suspecty about baby hair too, because I don't have any, and I believe if you have baby hair, you're wearing a wig. But that's just me. Don't, you can come at my throat if you want. You can come at me, but I'm just saying that's my belief. That's not everybody's belief. That's Lola's belief. I believe that, And I feel like that there has to be a place where we decide that it no longer has to be 100% gorgeous. It just needs to be you showing up authentically in what it is that you're experiencing and telling the truth. Tell the truth. And okay, we're going to have to do definitely a podcast about glamour magic. I love glamour magic. I love it. I used to be really good at it in my 20s, and now I'm too tired to be doing some glamour magic because that's too much. I just want to show my natural beauty. Do we see it? Are we good? I'm going to just give you some little face on the video. Okay. And I know that I can zhuzh it up. I can beat the face. I can skinny the nose. I can, plump the lips. I can do all that. And then I can tell you that my healing process has been full of loving affirmations and me putting crystals everywhere and enjoying dances by the full moon and firelight. That would not be the truth, though. That would be spiritual performance. And we have to step back from this spiritual performance, and we need to really start to try to expand our vision and really get to the place where we're all really exponentially where we're all really exponentially moving to a higher dimension where we can be in a better place. So it's a lot. To me, this has been probably the biggest reason why it's been really hard for me. I'm sorry, we're shaking the table. It's been really hard for me to actually make videos because I don't want it to be a spiritual performance. I don't want it to not be authentic. But I also know that I have to put a bra on or put clothes on. You know what I'm saying? And but I don't. I'm not always aligned. I'm not always glowing. I'm not always soft and ready to be, approached. Because when you're a teacher or a space holder, you're just trying to simply keep the vibration alive. Okay? And I know that there's a temptation to look healed instead of actually really doing the healing work. And that's what I think is going on in the healing industry right now. And you can come at me and say, oh, you're just jealous because other people have a better reach. And I am jealous that other people have a better reach and that they're not really selling you the truth. They're not really helping you. They're holding you hostage on an inauthentic aesthetic that makes you think that healing is going to be as easy as it is, and it's not. And then you buy into it and you buy a program, you buy the thing, and the thing doesn't work. Because what really has to work is you being with yourself. Excuse my dog. You being with yourself and you taking the time to do the deep work, to deep dive and go into yourself and say, oh, this is it. This is what is happening. This is where I'm at. Okay. So I just wanted to come and tell you that I really have decided that I want to be authentic. And I hope that this is an authentic sharing. You know, this is a love note to the part of you that is ready to be seen without the filter. This is a love note to the part of you that is ready to be heard and validated and ready to be raw in your process and in your growth and in your spiritual awakening. So I say, buckle up, strap on, and get ready for the ride, because it's going to be a little bumpy. But at the end of the process, at the end of the ride, nirvana. Okay, that's what I got for you. Thank you so much for joining me. You are whole, perfect, and complete and a radiant point of light. I'm blessed by your presence. Thanks again for joining me. And remember to stay in the love zone. Bye.